many of these chronic diseases from diabetes, obesity, colorectal cancer, cardiovascular disease are all tied to diet. And so what I believe is that at the heart of many of those diseases is a large deficiency in dietary fiber and the signaling that they do in the body.
Hey guys, this is Mike and welcome to the podcast. Today's conversation is with Matt Barnard and Matt Amicucci, co-founders of One Unlimited, the company behind one.bio and GoodVice. The working theory behind their company is they believe that fiber signal has faded in modern food and they have built a platform they believe that will replace it. And so they are putting out their first consumer-facing product this week. I tried it. I tried a seltzer. I tried their shake that has 10 grams of fiber, 15 grams of protein. It was really, really good. And so their vision is to ultimately work with consumer-facing brands as well as create their own products to help up the fiber and replace that lost signal that has faded from our food system before food processing stripped them all out. So I talk with both of them. It's a good conversation. I hope you enjoy it. We'll have other podcasts later this week. We're getting back in the swing of things after a break, after CES, and we are now pushing out the content like crazy. So stay tuned. We'll see you very, very soon. All right. Super excited to be here with Matt Barnard and Matt Amicucci of one.bio. You guys had some pretty big news this week. I think this was kind of the big announcement you guys have been working towards, right?
It is. Yeah, we're pretty excited about it. This is us going commercial. So, you know, it's one thing to develop the science and the understanding, but then to have the product and be able to scale it to where you go commercial. I mean, that's what we've been doing it for, and so we're pretty excited about it.
Why don't each of you give some quick introductions so people have the context of who you are? Matt Amicucci, I'll start with you.
Sure. Yeah. I'm Matt Amicucci. I'm one of the co-founders of one.bio, also the chief scientific officer. My background's been pretty split between food and chemistry for the better part of the last 20 years or so. I actually started my career as a chef, traveled around the world a little bit, working at different restaurants. Really loved that for a long time and loved feeding people and seeing how people interacted with food and things like that. Ended up going back to school to learn more, and I got my bachelor's in food science and technology at UC Davis. And during that time, I really started to fall in love with food in like a totally different perspective. Instead of food from a culinary sense and from cooking and being in it, actually food from a molecular standpoint. And during that time, I was really studying how dietary carbohydrates, specifically the ones found in human breast milk, interacted with the gut microbiome of infants. And that research was so invigorating for me and so exciting that I decided to stick around at UC Davis in grad school, switch over to the chemistry department, and really start to study dietary fiber and how the carbohydrates and fibers in the foods that adults ate interacted with their gut microbiota and how that could drive different health outcomes. So in 2019, when I graduated with my PhD, I founded one.bio, licensed some IP back from the University of California, Davis, and I've been running our science and technology platform ever since.
I feel like your timing is so perfect for this moment right now in the food world, and we'll get into that. And Matt Barnard probably saw this. He was over in the vertical farming space, kind of adjacent, but he saw, oh my gosh, fiber's about to have a moment. So Matt, tell us a little bit about how you came over.
Yeah, well, I myself had a pretty intense autoimmunity that was really cutting off my neural system's ability to live and thrive, and so that system collapse in me caused me to start doing a lot of research and meeting with people, reading studies, reading books, doing whatever I can to whatever I could to understand what was behind the things that were behind what I call the public health crisis of today, which is modern chronic inflammatory disease. And in that process of meeting with experts around the world, and predominantly here in the United States, is when I met Matt. And when you look at what's at the core of chronic inflammatory disease, what we're working on here at one.bio is really at the heart of it. And so that's what brought me.
In the press release, you talked about, I forget whose quote it was, about over the last 70 years, the signals that were in the food going back have been basically stripped out and the microbiome is not getting the signals that were in that dietary fiber. And you guys essentially want to put that back. So Matthew A, I'll go Matthew A, Matthew B. Maybe that's how we'll kind of.
That works. Matt A and Matt B is how we do it around the office. So
Matt A, when you were doing your science and we were trying to figure out like the product, was this something you wanted to solve from a productization standpoint? Is this why you founded the company?
Yeah. So, I mean, just a couple of minutes ago, you talked about how like this is such a moment in fiber right now, and it's such an exciting moment to be here. And it's really exciting for me because I've been studying dietary fiber before anybody else was interested in it. Like I used to go around and talk at conferences about analyzing baby poop to understand which types of fibers they were able to digest and which microbes were changing in response to that. And so really, for me, it was chasing this dream of studying the thing that I loved. Like I was so passionate about this relationship between food and the microbiome and human health. And the more and more I dug into it, the more and more I understood how little we really knew. Like at the time when I was in grad school, we didn't understand how the fiber in an apple or a sweet potato were different from a molecular standpoint. And we didn't understand how they could influence health in different ways. And so the more and more I got into this, the more the fascination stayed, but it almost felt like a responsibility that nobody else was trying to really bring improvements and all of this potential that fiber has to the consumer. And it kind of felt like it was like the natural next step.
Yeah.
Like I should start this company. I should commercialize this. I should help end this 5 billion kilogram dietary fiber gap that we have in the US.
And like most of us that grew up in the US, I've always thought fiber was like an old person thing. You had the Metamucil, you had the Benefibers, you had all these cereals. But what I would say, people who weren't ready to retire maybe didn't think about it as much. I mean, I think that's changing. I think the conversation is changing. So Matthew B, can you talk about maybe how things are changing? It does seem like the profile of fiber is rising. Andrea from Snackshot says it's not necessarily the new protein, but I do think it's having a moment, right? And so why is that?
It's clearly having a moment. It's having a moment in part because people are starting to understand. I would call it an emergent awareness that it is something beyond, what you just articulated, which is what it's been for most of its recent past life. What it's been is this this substance that helps people be regular, right? And that is such a narrow description of the wide scope of things that it does in and for our human bodies. And there's this emergent awareness that it is something way beyond that. People are starting to understand things like, the Mediterranean diet, we've known that's great for us for a long time. That's essentially just a high fiber diet. It is an anti-inflammatory diet because it is a high fiber diet. And they're starting to understand things like, the GLP-1s, frankly, have helped it, right? So you asked why. One of it is the GLP-1s have just soared into prominence, quickly becoming something like a $70 billion global industry, heading towards 100 quite quickly. That has driven awareness around, what these GLP-1s are doing and essentially what they are a response to. Because what the GLP-1 drugs are a response to is they're a pharmaceutical response to a massive fiber deficiency, what I refer to as, or just really observe as, the costliest dietary deficiency in human history. And so these different things have happened to start to raise the awareness that, fiber is more than what we've been calling it. And it is, and so the shorthand that we use to talk about it, as you mentioned, Michael, is that it's a signal, and that I'll let Matt talk about that in more detail, but our microbiome takes it in, does work on our behalf, and then creates signals for our gut, for our metabolic, for our immune systems that make them work, frankly. Right. And so with that signal missing, we've gone quite unhealthy, and that's driving essentially what's a global metabolic and immune collapse.
I do want to talk about the technology bit because I want to differentiate between these older products. Because, for the last couple of years, I've thought, hey, maybe I need more fiber. So I do Benefiber, Optifiber. And I wonder, how yours is different versus that. And then when I looked at the announcement and you guys send me a couple pieces of product, 20 grams of fiber, for example, in a seltzer, super high concentrations. And I think from what I understood, you couldn't necessarily do that high level of concentration in the past without really sacrificing the taste. So is that what your magic sauce here? Much higher concentrations of fiber that can be added to CPG and doesn't sacrifice the flavor or the taste?
Yes. I mean, effectively what's happened is that in the market today, if you look at the industrial fibers that are available to put into products that are on the shelves, you have broadly three categories. You have a category of synthetic fibers and dextrins, and those include whenever you see like a corn fiber, cassava, tapioca, wheat. These synthetics are exactly that, and so the microbiome, the microbes there don't recognize it as fiber structures that they do the important chemistry with, and so they mostly pass through, and without providing the signals that our body needs, our immune and our metabolic systems. You then have another category, which effectively are just they're not pleasant. The user experience they create isn't pleasant. Like you wouldn't want Metamucil in your soda, for example, because that's just not going to.
Doesn't sound good.
Yeah. So there's a whole group of them that just aren't pleasant, and then there's there's another group that's also, to the extent that anything is common in the industrial fiber space, they are inflammatory, right? So the inulins and fosses of the world, inulin you find that in like onions and artichokes and asparagus and garlic and things like that. And those cause people distress. And so although they can provide some positive benefit, there's a trade-off, which is that meaningful amounts of them end up also causing people quite a bit of gut distress. And so the secret sauce, as you said here, is that these are anti-inflammatory fibers that have an awful lot of function that we put in very high serving sizes, high concentrations into things that people eat without affecting the experience whatsoever.
I think that AgFunder did a good description of the core technology. I think they described it as, which probably, I think it was in the interview with both of you, you have a chemical method for essentially disassembling polysaccharides. Can you go into the specifics of the technology, Matthew?
Yeah. So when we start thinking about our technology, I think, I'll zoom out a little bit, because what we do is just, I think, so different than the way that the rest of the food industry looks at fiber. And so starting, we've actually built something that we call the Glycopedia. And the Glycopedia is the world's largest database of dietary fiber structure and function. And so this is something I actually started back in graduate school, and that was characterizing the fibers in as many foods as possible. As I mentioned, we didn't know at the time how an apple and a sweet potato were different, how the fibers were different, especially right now when we're looking at food labels, and you oftentimes just see dietary fiber as a single number on the food label, and maybe you see soluble and insoluble fiber broken out sometimes, but really the world of dietary fiber is just so diverse. There's dozens, maybe even hundreds of different dietary fibers that are made up of millions of different molecules. And so what we've done is we've started characterizing systematically thousands of different foods. So I think we're up to more than 4,000 right now, where we've gone through monomer by monomer, so the building blocks that make up these fibers, linkage by linkage, branch by branch, what the structures of these dietary fibers are found in different foods. And then what we do is we look at how the gut microbiome interacts with them. So this Glycopedia is not just a map of which fibers are found in which foods and which fibers are actually found in the world to begin with, because that had never been cataloged. It's also a map of function. And so it allows us to understand how different dietary fibers can drive different microbiota to perform different functions in the body. And right now, the way that most dietary fiber research is done is either at just total dietary fiber has certain outcomes, and actually even that research is just like so strong. You look at the impacts on dietary fiber and longevity. It's like each additional 10 grams you consume, you lower your risk of dying by 10%. It's one of the biggest triggers we have for our health. But beyond that, you do have researchers that look at dietary fiber as from its source. So they'll say things like kiwi fiber does this and goji berry fiber does this, but people aren't quite linking together that maybe kiwis and goji berries have the same fiber in them. And so this is one of the things that this database does.
Have you guys been able to accelerate your discovery and expand the glycopedia with new tools like AI?
So I think that there's like a lot of great places where AI has been helping us. But at the end of the day, this database that we're building really is an empirical database.
Got it.
And so we're actually understanding fiber structure and the empirical outcomes because there's no data set that exists out there for us to do this. We have to build that data set. But what we have done, and we published a paper last summer, is we were actually able to use that and some simple machine learning models to predict how a novel fiber might interact with the gut microbiota. And it turns out that our prediction based upon the data we had was correct. And so, there's a lot of interesting places to go moving forward with AI. And one of the ones I'm really interested in is personal nutrition. So looking at how different people respond to different fibers.
Yeah, that's a great point.
In different ways.
Yeah. So could we imagine a world with you understanding the different outcomes you're searching for and how each type of fiber can trigger that, creating this more personalized solutions that you guys may produce or through partners produce?
Yeah. So maybe let me explain the product that we're launching just in a couple days here.
Yep.
And so what we did is we looked at what are the health outcomes that we really want to drive. And one of the ones that we were really focused in was metabolic health. We know that 40% of the population now is obese. More than half of the United States has either diabetes or prediabetes. And so we wanted to help people better be able to manage their blood glucose levels and also their gut health. And so what we did is we took this database that we had of all these thousands of different fibers, and based upon the information we had there, we made some predictions. Which fibers did we think would influence the right microbes and the right signals created by those microbes to influence blood glucose management? And so we took them from the database into a preclinical model where we validated them. And then we recently just scaled up and ran a clinical trial on oat fiber, which has a really cool fiber in it called beta-glucan. And sure enough, our predictions were right that beta-glucan was able to suppress people's blood glucose spikes while also reducing some of the gas and pain that's traditionally attributed with a lot of fibers. So not only did our fiber not produce more gas and intolerance like some of the other fibers on the market do, but it actually reduced people from even before they started consuming their fiber.
So like when they came in, people were saying, I have this level of discomfort just in my ambient life, right? This is where I am. And we made them better, right? So it's very, very powerful. And if I were to take, Michael, if I were to put what Matt just said into historical context, this is not unlike 100-ish years ago when it wasn't known that there were these different and distinct vitamin and mineral structures that had different functions in the body. There was this broad category called vital amines, just like right now we call fiber instead of fibers. And now we call vital amines vitamins and minerals because we know there are many different ones. So I wouldn't ask you, for example, or someone, hey, have you had your mineral today? Say, have you had your vitamins and minerals, right? Yeah. And so a handful of scientists did their work, and they were like, oh, well, there's this thing, vitamin A, which is different than K2, and that's different than D3, and that's different from calcium, and they all have different functions in the body. The work that Matt and the team have done is to figure out, oh my goodness, look at this. There are thousands of different structures in different families and groupings, and a diversity across these different families of fiber structures produces different signals for different systems of the bodies to do different roles and provide different.
So in the future, you're predicting, Matthew A., what Matt B. just said, in 10 years from now, 20 years from now, will the conversation about fiber be much more nuanced, and we'll go down the different types of fibers that our body needs, and maybe we're looking for a certain type depending on what my specific health or nutrition needs are?
I don't think it's going to take that long.
Right.
I think it's right around the corner. And I think that that we're unlocking it fiber by fiber right now. I think that the conversation that's going to be had is really what does a world look like when chronic disease doesn't hit us as hard as it does today? Because whereas all those vitamins and minerals really serve to help solve the problems of acute malnutrition, many of these chronic diseases, from diabetes, obesity, colorectal cancer, cardiovascular disease, are all tied to diet. And so what I believe is that at the heart of many of those diseases is a large deficiency in dietary fiber and the signaling that they do in the body. So I really think it's going to be play a big impact on everybody's life.
There's another fun historical parallel there, Michael, which is where, 100 to 200 years ago, every year, roughly 50% of the population had a severe dietary deficiency or two that manifested in the form of severe symptoms. Everything from, goiters and knobby bone spurs and things, and deformities on the neck and the face and different parts of the body, to fatigue, to death, right? So anywhere between 30 and 50% of the population every single year had severe symptoms related to dietary deficiency. And then those scientists that I mentioned about 100 years ago, who then started to figure out, there are these essential vitamins and minerals that have essential functions. Once that was figured out, the food system and regulations, for that matter, all of it worked together to solve it. And so those dietary deficiencies, like most people have never heard of, rickets.
Pellagra.
Yeah. I mean, these things are obscure now because we've ridded ourselves of them. And it just so happens that fibers have such a wide range of responsibility across the human body, the signals that are produced with them through the microbiome, that there's all manner of inflammatory disease. And so, we think the same thing is going to happen here. But the second part of that is that the most powerful thing that about 90% of the population can do to improve their health and longevity is fiber intake. It is the most powerful thing. The only thing that's more powerful is 10% of the population smokes. And so that stopping smoking is more powerful than that. But for 90% of people who don't smoke, it's the thing.
I don't know if you guys have been watching. You probably have. You're working for a food company. The new food pyramid dropped about 2 weeks ago. We were at CES. It was right before a panel on food regulations. And so that was a big topic of conversation. But any kind of thoughts or feedback on what you saw there? And is it going to elevate the fiber discussion more? I know that they put in heavy emphasis. I called it the Joe Rogan food pyramid, and that it was kind of the protein bro guy food pyramid. But was there any sort of emphasis on fiber that you saw, Matthew A?
I think it's on trend with how people have been trying to speak to health and nutrition and fiber maybe over the last decade, whereas they try to tell you in as many ways as possible to eat more fiber without telling you to eat more fiber.
Why is that though? Why is that?
It's because people don't know how to talk about it. People still think about fiber as regularity and helping you poop, and it does that, but it's just like a small piece. But so if you look at that food pyramid, as much as I think everybody's responding to the giant protein piece that's there, if you look at the rest of the pyramid, the entire rest of the pyramid is telling you to eat more fiber, right? Like the section on vegetables and fruits, it's right there, and it's just as big as the protein section. Underneath that, it's very specifically telling you whole grains, which is a subtle change from the last pyramid we saw, which just said grains in general. And even within the protein section, it's not highlighted as big as maybe it should be, but legumes are there as well. So it's kind of like almost everything on that pyramid is telling you to eat more fiber, but nobody's using the word fiber. And so, I think that there's some work to be done to help people kind of understand that nuance and why all these vegetables and fruits are good for you. It's not just the vitamins and minerals. Most people don't really have vitamin deficiencies these days. Yeah. But 95% of the United States is not consuming enough fiber, even by the outdated standards.
So Matt B, this is the confidential sample orange pomegranate seltzer. I can edit this out if you want me to.
That's a good one. No, do it.
It's good.
But it has 20 grams of fiber, which is an amazing amount of fiber. Because when I add fiber in my little fiber supplements, I do a couple tablespoons. I'm adding 3 grams of fiber to my oatmeal, which
there's 5 bowls of oatmeal in that
5 bowls. I'm gonna try it.
Yeah.
Do it. I should have grabbed one out of the fridge before this. We had all done
tasty. That's tasty. All right. So this brings me. I do this because it's fun. It's actually tasty. I want to try it live. 20 grams of protein, but I do want to ask you about the
fiber. 20 grams of fiber.
20 grams of fiber. Thank you. But I do want to ask you about the productization strategy. So, Matt B, one of the announcements was you guys are essentially announcing your own consumer-facing brand, and it reminded me a bit of a startup called Perfect Day that was a fermentation startup 5 years ago. They did animal identical proteins using precision fermentation. Then they had their own consumer-facing brand. It's tough, though, to be a science company and do a consumer-facing brand. So is your consumer brand, which is a great name, I think it's something Vice?
GoodVice.
GoodVice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is Yeah. GoodVice. Great brand,
we both have it.
By the way. I love that wording. Is this something just to kind of show folks like the CPG, or is this you want to actually build a big brand?
Well, both. I mean, look, it's a reference design, to show that what you crave can also be what your body needs, and so it is definitely that. And also, the products that we have lined up to launch both now and later this year and beyond, we think they can be just runaway winners at the same time. And so I don't view those things as in competition with one another. We want to see GoodVice, be wildly successful because these products taste just fantastic and are so good for you that people will feel it. You can feel it. It governs your metabolism for the rest of the day. It puts your gut at peace. I mean, it makes your brain feel great. Mental clarity and what flows from that. And so those products we think will do quite well. But also, we would like to see one.bio across the grocery store, right? I mean, the challenge here, the mission that we're on is around human flourishing absent chronic inflammatory disease. And to do that, the world needs more than GoodVice. The world needs one.bio in lots of products spread all across the grocery store, because 95% of people are running a 60 to 90% deficiency, and that's at the heart of chronic inflammatory disease.
I'd love to see it in stuff I see in the middle of the grocery store. I was in Japan, and I think they did have a fiber Coke there.
Yeah,
and I thought that's actually pretty tasty. And I thought, why isn't that not here in the U.S.? So will I see that here in the U.S.? Something akin to that, powered by one.bio?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is definitely what we're working on. We have both plans for our own products as well as partners that we're working with to launch with, and so we definitely expect sparkling beverages, with modern taste profiles to be part of the queue. I mean, when you taste that, Michael, that sample there, I mean, what do you get from it? I mean, is there any hint that there's any fiber in there?
No, I like it. I like it for a couple of reasons. It's not super sweet. I don't like super sweet drinks. Mm-hmm. So it's got but it's sweet enough. Those essence drinks that are just not the essence of it. There's not enough fruit there. So it's got some good pomegranate. I don't really taste a fiber. There's no kind of fibery taste to it. So overall, I'm pretty impressed.
Yeah. And it's perfectly
not a paid
clear.
endorsement, by the way. I just got a free drink. You guys give me a free drink. That's all I got paid with.
And so when you're talking about the grocery store and where you're going to see us in the grocery store, I think one of the things that is a little different when you will see us in the grocery store is just all the places that we'll be and in all the different forms. Because, right now that product that you mentioned, they're probably using one of the synthetic corn fibers or something like that inside the product. And when you start to see us popping up on the shelf, you're going to see the fiber found in that food naturally being put back into that food, right? So we're kind of undoing the damage of all the processed food that's existing in the center of that grocery store. So when you pick up a carton of oat milk, you're going to see that there's oat fiber in it. You're going to have 4 bowls of oatmeal worth of fiber in your oat milk. When you go to the bakery aisle, you'll be seeing that wheat fiber is being put into different bakery goods. You're going to see that your chocolate has cacao fiber in it. And so it's really this concept that, the food system has been stripping the fiber away from the food, but that fiber still exists and it could be put back into the food when handled and formulated properly. And each one of those is going to have different benefits.
To bring that to a question that you asked earlier, Michael, about the food pyramid. I mean, one way to think about what this is that we're doing here at one.bio is we are returning the signals of whole food to the 70% of calories in the grocery store that is not whole food, right? So one of the things that makes everything from pasta to orange juice to apple juice to cereal a metabolic and chaotic disaster is the fact that those whole food signals have been stripped out of it. And so people use these vague words around processed and ultra processed and things, and there's a lot of demonizing of things that are present, when really, the way to make a profound difference is replacing the signal that's absent. There are a lot of things that have been made into the enemy, and I think it would be clear that they're really not so much the enemy, many of them, if only whole food signals were returned to those 70% of calories that are not whole foods in the grocery store.
I think one of you mentioned that 10% of the population are smokers. I've heard recently that 10% of the population are taking GLP-1s now. And that's a massive amount in just a short amount of time. And it's just so, in a sense, odd to me that 10% of people are taking shots now, because I don't think the pills largely arrived in any sort of broad sense. But I have to think that people would probably prefer taking an over-the-counter solution that is they feel comfortable with as maybe in their food. So do you think that will products like this, maybe your product or others, become an alternative to GLP-1 so people can maybe get the same effect without having to put a shot in their body or get a prescription from the doctor?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole range of things here. I think, we could have a whole session just on this topic. I mean, I think at the end of the day, there are people whose chronic and inflammatory disease has advanced to the point where a pharmaceutical response is necessary, right? I mean, because they are at that point. What some of the things that our products and our fibers can do for people are, one is just prevent them from ever getting to that place in the first place. And so that's one thing. Another is for those, who have made the gains, experienced the gains of those pharmaceutical responses to fiber deficiency.
Off ramps.
We can offer them an off ramp. Yeah. Because there are plenty of people who don't like the symptoms or the side effects of nausea and diarrhea and vomiting and
muscle loss,
longer term things like stomach paralysis and those types of things. And so we give them, a side effect free way to get those signals without pharmaceuticals.
So, like I said, here's the product. I like the branding. It was sent to me. When can I actually go buy it on your website or in the store? Because I went to your website and right now I'm just entering my email, but I'm sure some people are going to be interested. When will this be available?
That is in a couple days, Michael.
Oh, wow. So it's right around the corner. Okay. So
Tuesday, February 3rd, everybody go to drinkgoodvice.com.
So this may actually come out about the same day this is available. That was not intended, by the way. So okay.
Amazing. Yeah.
So you guys will have the powders, and I think you had a couple drinks. What's all available in the first round?
What we're initially launching is a line of meal replacement beverages in powder form. Like Matt just held up there. Yep. So we're launching those, and we have some other things planned down the road here in 2026. But they taste great. I mean, like one of them tastes like melted Haagen-Dazs vanilla ice cream. I mean, it's friggin' delicious. And so we've got three flavors. You have one of those and you're not hungry for hours. You've got energy balance there. You've got protein for recovery and muscles. You've got creatine for mental performance, along with the fiber itself, which helps for that as well. And so there are a bunch of macros all packed in, all coupled with just a really lush and beautiful drinking experience.
All right. Yeah, 10 grams of oat fiber, 15 grams of protein. You mentioned you may see oat fiber in your oat drink. Are you guys going to have, you guys launch with oat fiber? Are we going to see other types of building block fibers that are not oat as you round out the product line?
You want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, we have a number of fibers already in the pipeline. Things like pea fiber, we have citrus fiber, we're working on cacao fiber, and they'll all go into their unique places in the grocery store. So you can imagine the same way that we can put oat fiber back into oat milk, we can make orange juice with as much orange fiber as 3 whole oranges, right? And right now, if you look at the juice aisle, it's mainly just sugar water, right? They've taken the orange, they've squeezed out all that sweet, delicious tasting orange juice, but all that fiber just gets left behind. And so you end up getting these blood glucose spikes that are attributed with it. And once you bring that fiber back in, it's as healthy as eating an orange. And I think that that's really important.
I mean, and we've seen, as we've gone out and talked to people and done some consumer surveys and whatnot, people are clear. I mean, we all know, it would seem, that eating the apple is good for you while drinking the juice is not, or eating the orange is good for you while drinking the juice is not. And this is why. It's because those whole food signals through the fiber have been stripped out of it. And so yeah, we have a product pipeline of others that we're working to bring to market. So that we can range across the grocery store.
All right. Well, Matt Barnard, Matt Amicucci, this has been fun hearing about what you guys are building. Good luck as you guys launch this product, and looking forward to trying the shakes next.
Cool. All right. Hey,
awesome.
Thanks for having us, Michael.
All right. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, guys.
Bye now.
Well, that was it. My conversation with the Matts, Matt Amicucci, Matt Barnard, talking about what they're building with one.bio, GoodVice, and how they're trying to bring fiber back to the center of our food system. Hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, we'll have another podcast up in just a day or two, so stay tuned, and we'll talk to you all very, very soon.
If you enjoyed this episode, why not share it with a friend? And don't forget to give us a 5-star review. You'll find more content like this on thespoon.tech/podcasts.